Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I am your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, and today we have Johnny Holsten with us. Johnny, thank you so much for joining and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Atul. This will be a fun conversation, I'm sure.
Yep. Okay, so for our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what you do?
My name's Johnny Holsten. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and we do sales training and coaching at Bridge Selling.
Okay, so who do you train?
We train sales reps. We work with sales teams or even small businesses that have multiple people handling the selling, all the way up to large sales teams with dozens of sales reps, and we'll help them get really good at how they're executing their calls and their conversations with buyers.
Okay, so what triggered you to create like this training?
Well, in my background, I worked in marketing for a long time, and I realized that after working with lots of marketing teams and businesses, to where we started was crafting marketing messaging. So helping them figure out what to say to attract the right fit customers. And then we saw time and time again that sales teams really struggled to close deals, even with good leads. And so that led us to thinking about how can we create a training? How can we create a process? How can we create something that helps solve that problem, where when a company has figured out their marketing and they have done all the right things to bring leads in the door, but then those leads are dropping out the other side, how can we stop that from happening?
Okay, so can you walk us through the framework of your bridge selling?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I want everyone who's listening, think about your business or your company or any sort of sales process you've been a part of. We like to use the analogy that closing a sale is like crossing a bridge. So picture in your mind, you've got a bridge moving left to right. Now, in every company, there's either one bridge or a couple different bridges to close a sale, depending on how many stages you have to your sales process. But we are always looking at what are the steps to cross that bridge. And at Bridge Selling, we've got 6 key parts of the bridge. And that is what we do all of our training and coaching and strategy on, is how do we help customers cross that bridge successfully. And so we help companies figure out what are the different things that help you build your bridge and how are the different ways we can get better at crossing that bridge with the customer.
Okay, so what are the main step in a like?
The 6 steps are going left to right. Then if you're kind of picturing a picture of a bridge, pinpointing the pain of your buyer, so making sure you understand what pain point, what problem you're going to solve for your buyer. The second part is qualification. So knowing exactly who you are supposed to say yes and no to when the lead enters your sales process, knowing how to disqualify someone who's not a good fit, knowing how to qualify someone who is. The third part is solution and success. So being able to tie your solution and the success it creates to the specific pain point of that buyer, which many people forget to do. Many people overlook tying their features and benefits to a pain point. On the second half of the bridge, Q&A. So overcoming objections. You and I were talking before the show a little bit about overcoming objections, not easy. That fits in step 4. So educating on your product, your process, and overcoming objections. Steps 5 and 6 are pretty simple. Step 5 is giving 3 next steps at the end of every sales conversation. And step 6 is you're either going to close the deal or schedule the next conversation. So those are the 6 parts we're trying to score high in and do successfully every time we talk to a customer.
From all the steps, which step where salespersons mess up the most?
It's probably the first step of pinpointing the pain of the buyer. That's a lot harder than people realize. And usually a salesperson will dig a little bit deeper. They'll ask about some pain points, but they won't ever confirm it. And so we always coach to the idea that if we're not confirming the pain points of our buyer, then we're just guessing. We're trying to solve a problem. We're not confirming. And so one thing that we always say, or we look for, is a sales rep confirming the problem in a way where they stop the conversation and they say, all right, based on what you've told me, it sounds like you're struggling with this. Am I missing anything? What else have I missed? Asking that question right there is really key to getting a buyer to open up a little bit more and share more about what they're going through.
Okay. Okay. Is it like okay to memorize the script or always go with the like framework?
It's okay to memorize. We don't want to be overly scripted. So the way we like to think of it is you might know what to say, but you've got to practice it and do it enough times to where it doesn't sound scripted. It doesn't sound like you're reading off a script, because a buyer can realize when someone's reading off a script, and no one wants to deal with that. And so that's why we think the bridge is a visual metaphor. It's a framework to be thinking of while you're in a sales conversation, so that you don't have to have a script downloaded fully into your brain.
So, what do you think? Where does AI helping? There are lots of people are using AI to do calls, right?
Mhm. You
So,
mean like being the salesperson and AI bots doing the selling?
yeah, 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 yeah.
I think it's gonna affect things. I think it'll shorten a sales cycle. It'll help shorten sales cycles. I have not personally being in the sales space, I have not seen many people doing it successfully. I know there's tools and there's products out there, but I have not yet seen an AI an salesperson successfully overtake the role of a human salesperson in a category or in a product that isn't already e-commerce type or being, people buying via chatbot. I mean, those things are real, but there's still so far been the need for face-to-face human interaction to close a deal. And so I think those things are coming, but my thinking is it'll just shrink sales cycles. I don't think it'll necessarily eliminate the salesperson entirely the way people hope. But if that's the case, then we'll use our framework to train AI bots, I guess.
What will never going to change in human to human selling?
I do think the things that will never change are even if AI gets really great at selling, I believe humans are always going to prefer to buy from another human because we feel like there's a level of trust with when you can, and of course, there's also salespeople who scam people and rip others off, right? It's both ends of the spectrum. But for anyone who's had the pleasure of working with a salesperson that is really great and there's high trust and they take great care of you, I'm going to choose to work with that person 10 times out of 10 over an AI bot. And I think that the benefit of human to human trust will never ever change. And I feel like you might see more companies adding that back in as a luxury to their buyers because it's such a value add.
Okay, so what are few things that salespeople do that they have to unlearn?
That's a good question, Atul. I think the biggest thing that people need to unlearn is nobody cares about the details of your product likely the same way that you do. And so when I look back at some of the salespeople that I've worked with who have struggled the most, they have a very hard time unlearning the way that they pitch the product. And the reality is you should never have the same pitch for every single buyer. You should be able to cater your pitch to the unique pain points of each specific buyer. And so when I see a salesperson who's really dialed in at their pitch or really dialed in at talking about all the benefits and features of their product, likely they need to unlearn some of those things so that they can create a more customer centric pitch about the product. So I would say that is a big thing. You need to unlearn the pitch.
Okay, so can you be more specific with who do you help, like, and
Sure.
who
Yeah.
is not good fit to be
Yeah.
like get the training?
We work with people who have figured out their lead flow. And so we don't work with teams who are doing outbound demand gen. We work more with teams that have an inbound function. So if a team does if they have an outbound like demand gen team, that's completely fine, but we work after those calls have been booked and after those leads have been brought in the door. And so the best cases that we work with are companies who have invested heavily in marketing but have not put much work into their sales process or strategy or training. And so that's the pool we like to swim in because we can get really fast wins when you have high lead flow and a sales team that might not have all the resources or the tools that they need. Sometimes it only takes a day or two of training before you start to see a really big jump in sales. So companies who they know what their product is, they know what their lead gen strategy is, but for some reason the sales are just not closing the same way they'd like.
Okay, so looking back when you started, what one lesson you will tell yourself if you could restart again?
I would probably tell myself to don't be afraid to get creative. Don't be afraid to have a little bit more fun because I think oftentimes in business or in sales, we play not to lose. And if you can get to a place where you are just having more fun, you're going to win either way. So have more fun, be more creative. I would say the same thing for salespeople out there too. Don't get so rigid. Don't get so stressed about, even though we have a framework that we train on, our framework is flexible. So find the ways to be fun and creative within the strategies and the frameworks that you use and make them work for you.
So for our listeners who want to get some help from you, where can they go?
Bridgeselling.com. You can go to bridgeselling.com if you'd like to talk to our team. And I have a book that explains a little bit more about our methodology. It's called Fix Your Broken Sales Calls. You can get that on the website as well. So bridgeselling.com is the best place, or I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, so what is the best book you have ever read that has the most impact on your selling?
Man, well, the best book that I've ever read is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And that's not necessarily a sales book. It's about the guy who created Nike. Amazing book. And what I love about it, and it has impacted my selling in some ways because he is gutsy. He's not afraid to take big risks and to go for big things rather than play small. And so I've always loved that book. It's been one that I recommend to everybody.
Okay, with all the success you have in selling, what personality trait would you attribute majority of your success to?
I think when I look back at everything, and I'm by no means like, the most successful person in the world, but of all the success I've had, I think I've been very careful to tie projects or sales or deals to the outcome of the buyer, not just my own success or not just my own wins. I've always tried to be careful to do what's right by the buyer, and I think that has paid off over the long haul.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so thank you so much for joining, Johnny, and thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, Atul. Thank you for having me, and congrats on the podcast, and wish you the best.
This is Genius Talk Podcast, and I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, of course. So speaking of email marketing, if you got some questions, challenges, doubt, or just simply need some help with your email marketing, then reach out to me at atul@thebestemailmarketer.com, and I'll be happy to help.